When Lisa Trankley told me that this was the theme, imagination, I was excited. What a great topic. But the more I thought about it, the more fraught that word became, because it teases the mind into vast areas of what the brain, that mind for imagination resides, can do. You see before you a time traveler that has been all over the world and finally made it back today for today's talk. I almost didn't make it, but I'm here. I've been with the cavemen and how they discovered the use of tools and fire. I joined those wandering tribes that followed the stars and knew the destinations by sea and land. I visited ancient cities, the Roman aqueducts and the architecture of Gothic cathedrals. I saw cities, monuments to human ingenuity by anonymous builders with their talented crafts. I visited the mysterious Egyptian pyramids and the Taj Mahal. I rode a camel across prairie dunes and an elephant in India, and saw how imagination made garments and carpets of beauty for everyday life. I visited science labs understanding germs, talked to shamans and medicine men and doctors curing diseases like leprosy, polio, smallpox. I thought of how astonishing is the world we live in, fraught with imagination, innovation, creativity. I thought of nature and how amazing the natural world is, and where we landed with our evolutionary minds and imaginations, and how the natural world feeds our sense of wonder. But in all these journeys around the world, I am impressed by the ancient library at Alexandria, Egypt, that had 40,000 books written on papyrus, font of information and wisdom, the pride of their culture. It was destroyed by floods and lost to our understanding. What a great loss that is. What creative ingenuity conceived the Gutenberg printing press? It filled a human need as people learned to read and read the Bible and God's Word for their personal journey. Reading is all about images created by letters, words, sentence that opens the imagination to the past, the present, and the future. Libraries house the imaginations and ingenuity of the ages. They remind us of who we are. The tycoon, Carnegie, wanted to die broke, and because he loved to read, built libraries all over this country, free, a symbol of our great democracy, where anyone can be self-taught. With the advent of the press and the written word, the oral tradition that we had lived by was worried by minstrels that roamed the countryside. There was a worry with the written word. Would we lose our memory? Everyone present here today in this room are here because of an image, an idea that our ancestors had. We inherited and are the product of their imagination that process of mind that can conjure up ideas and images not squared with a given reality. It is a dream we have of ourselves in a future life, one with hope, freedom, success. There is a reason we left our origins in a place far from here across the waters. Poverty, oppression, opportunity, religious freedom, curiosity. When land opened up in this new country approximately 250 years ago, and again with the westward movement after the post-Civil War, there were eager takers that imagined themselves reincarnated in the life of a new world, a fledgling country with infinite possibilities. A powerful statement on the world stage, the idea of free land. It is what we have come to call the American dream, the land of golden opportunity. It is mythical, and the way we think about ourselves. Our countries of origination are easily much older, and we inherited that imagination that moves the dial to the United States of America. We had to be resilient and innovative to a completely new set of circumstances. In the squall of time, after you came to this country, how many of you moved from this country someplace to be here in Bozeman, Montana? Raise your hands. Welcome. All of this was a part of a brain in the sweep of your imaginations. Because of the varied cultures we came from, we thought of ourselves as the melting pot. In spite of differences, we would be one country with one constitution, one flag that Betsy Ross made with her imagination to give us a symbol of who we are. That symbol is fraught with meaning and carries the message to the world about our values. So let me, at this point, bring up an old yellow cartoon of the past. Remember Lucy and Linus? Well, they are laying on the grass looking up at the clouds. I see a beautiful white horse in a meadow, says Lucy. Says Linus, I just see a cloud. He's right. It's a cloud, a fact we can agree on. Lucy's story reveals her individual imagination, and that is true, too. The area of the brain responsible for imagination are mainly the neocortex and the thalamus. It was believed that the left part of the brain is responsible for logic and analytics, and the right allows us to think creatively. However, it turns out for these processes to take place, both hemispheres must cooperate. Since imagination is a complex process that includes memory, emotions, consciousness, and abstract thought, some scientists believe this complex creation took shape in childhood. For a moment, remember back to your youth, your careless childhood while playing in playgrounds or after school simulating real life with cars and Legos stuffed animals, and puppets, and pretend games. In the 3rd grade, a group of us built a big city using pebbles to organize houses, stores, streets. Every recess and lunch period, we would be there, playing, organizing, naming streets with toothpicks and little flags. We had the freedom to imagine what we wanted. And now I discover that in this way, we gained essential lifelong skills, such as decision-making, as well as imagination and problem-solving. Fairy tales, cruel and hard as they may sound, like Hansel and Gretel, Little Red Riding Hood, The 3 Little Pigs, also encourage empathy and sympathy and help children with conflicts in their own lives. All of this is about imagination as we come, as Wordsworth would say, trailing clouds of glory. We grow up, and there are the expectations of the world, getting a skill, adding to the economy, being useful citizens. We also are aware that we can, through reading, transcend the present into another place with our imaginations. One of the greatest imaginations in our country was Albert Einstein, who famously said, "Imagination is more important than knowledge." We can have a basic skill set of things we know about, but imagination circles the world and is limitless and timeless. It is a word that is fraught with expectations, deals intimately with creativity, and can at times make us feel uneasy. But I believe our thoughts and actions are welded to our dreams, our imagination, our curiosity. We support the arts, we attend concerts, we write journals, take music lessons, read books, go to poetry readings, read poetry. One of the avenues about imagination I happened on was, do you have to have language to have imagination? Great question. I don't know. Here's what a couple of other people said. Dr. David Moore says if we are referring to internal speech, no. He caps up by saying it has been explored very elegantly. I like that. Someone else put it another way. Fact is, we are thinking all the time and are usually talking with others about what we are imagining. And then there are feelings. You don't need words for feelings, even if you try. Imagine you are kissing someone. Do you need words for that? Well, anything is possible. So what is Einstein getting at? It is about originality, inventing out of our own minds something new, unique. We instantly go to the arts, music, dance, poetry, painting, plays, and inventing something new out of the old. Here's a story that may illustrate the way reality invades our dreams or unique thoughts of our internal world and the demands of survival. It is an old story. Two brothers, one a violinist and the other a writer and poet, decided to go to a cabin in the woods for 3 months of winter and concentrate on their art and creativity. They arrived, set up the cabin with their food and equipment, happy as larks, firm of purpose. That night it began to rain and snowed for 3 days. They hauled water from the well and chopped wood. Soon the well froze up and they melted snow. The car would not start and they had to walk to town to get help. They felled trees and chopped wood. Exhausted, they fell asleep at night and after 3 weeks packed up and went back to their comfortable homes. Of what use was their inner life of the imagination when it came to survival? Leisure is required for the imagination to create something out of its own mind. But as I say that, there are those rare people that take care of a household and write a novel or go to work each day and come home and practice the guitar for the Saturday night dance or write another song. Or as a country, the gross national product is our gauge of success. It admires strength, purpose, and efficiency. In our results-oriented society, we tend to aim for tightly defined, specific goals before starting a project. Creativity takes time, a wide scope. The country of our mother tongue, England, had this to say about American society. Americans will never have a literature or a culture because they are not capable of it. They are about money and power and have no time for the finer, more cultural aspects of life. Early in this country, indeed, England dominated our culture and our literature and was steeped in English writers and thinkers. Our textbooks had the romantic and Victorian poets of England. Tennyson, Wordsworth, Blake, Keats, Browning. Remember those guys in your textbooks? Do you remember? Raise your hand if you do. Yeah, remember that? Those long poems, God. How many remember we inherited a classical humanist education? Despite England looking down her fine nose at our imagination, we have Edgar Allan Poe, his Gothic stories of horror, the creator of the short story. We have Emily Dickinson, Willa Cather, James Fenimore Cooper, Mark Twain, Eugene O'Neill, Tennessee Williams. And the subjects were all about this new developing country. In language, tone, and culture, they belong to us. And out of our imagination, out of our experience living in this new country. When Lucy tells the story of the home and of the horses in the clouds, she is being imaginative, fanciful. It is stories of the imagination that give us a colorful interview, an escape from the mundane. It is through stories that we can imagine the lives and hardships of others, what we call empathy. Competitiveness, strength, and the work ethic may be the values of capitalism, but it is cooperation that sustains us as a culture and makes us capable of empathy, imagining walking in others' shoes. We know from experience it varies in all of us and is influenced by learning and experiences. We are not equal about empathy. But a lack of empathy is a key symptom of several mental health conditions, like narcissistic personality disorder. A need to always be right, a sense of self-importance, and a desire for high status. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person, which is crucial for effective communication and social interaction. I was amazed to hear a politician declare, "The trouble with Western culture is empathy." Empathy and sympathy build bridges to other people and meet their humanity with our own. In conclusion, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, English poet, would have agreed with both Lucy and Einstein. He saw imagination as a vital force capable of shaping and unifying the world. And now, beyond anything we have ever known, artificial intelligence. How will we use it to benefit humankind, this wonder of technology and imagination? I must say, folks, that dealing with imagination was like trying to put an elephant in the backseat of your car. Thanks a lot.